You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Exciting news. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who have been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com, and then definitely follow them on Instagram for all the information that you need, because I'm sure that's where you follow us as well, at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode. Sat with a mate today. It's weird. It is. No, I say weird. It's different. I don't really get to interview mates very often, so it's kind of nice. But sat with Mr. Andrew Holder, who, if you don't know who Andrew is, he works for Keller Williams Real Estate Company, KW Elite of Klassen, and we met through real estate. So that was a long time ago.
I know. It's like probably
when we think about it,
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. I saw the bold picture of us the other day.
Yeah.
And it came up and I'm like, who's left?
Yeah. Who's still in it?
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met because you left all Chaparral?
Yeah.
You left
Oil
Chaparral.
and gas business, yeah.
Came to real estate, did very well first year, and then should have got Rookie of the Year. We won't dive into why you didn't.
Yeah, I'm still a little my
salty.
ego's still a little bit bruised from that.
A little salty about that. But yeah, met because of real estate, and then you gone into I guess I wouldn't say office side of things, but it is kind of office side of things, right?
Yeah. So I jumped in, like you said, I jumped into the real estate business cold turkey. A lot of people kind of have that illusion of, let me try to jump in this, dip my toe in the water and see what happens. I decided, based on the time of life I was and with what I wanted to accomplish, there was no way I was going to be able to accomplish what I wanted to unless I jumped all in. So yeah, I jumped in and had a lot of success in my first couple of years and had an opportunity to jump on a leadership side of things. And I'm just based off of the way I was raised, I've always been more about giving to others as much than giving back to myself. So I was really blessed by what our company had to offer. So I want to make sure I could help do my part to bless others.
And if anyone's worked with someone from KW or been at the Keller Williams, they'll know exactly what you're talking about, right? Because the culture that we have, it's probably, that's how I mean, it was the place where I started doing real estate, and I put anybody who wants to get into real estate is where I push them. Yeah, no,
we're blessed. Obviously, it's an independent, everyone's independent contractors. So we try to do the best we possibly can. But yeah, we just start things based off of culture first and do everything we can to make everything a win-win situation.
Yeah. So before working for Chaparral, working for KW, you're born and raised in Oklahoma. I know your story, but people listening don't. So take us all the way back.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Alva, America, as I like to refer to it, Alva, Oklahoma, small town in northwest corner. I was tremendously blessed to grow up where I did, and that place I still call home, just because of the community. If we're looking at it, this is going to be kind of the boring side. If you look at it from an economic standpoint, nowadays, especially think about things, you don't even go to the grocery store anymore, right? You can get things shipped to your house.
Yeah.
Think about going to a town of less than 4,000 people. You can't recreate those things. So being a small business owner is extremely difficult. So the only reason that small towns like Alva even exist now is because of the people that put back into the community. So I was extremely blessed to grow up in the family that I did. My granddad, and the store still exists, but my granddad had opened up and had ran a pharmacy for over 65 years before he passed away, and the pharmacy still lives on. He raised the good old fashioned way, literally slept in the store with a shotgun, making sure people wouldn't break in. Still did things for a decent amount of time off of lines of credit because he knew that people couldn't pay for it. So he would end up taking on that burden himself. And he never let that get in the way from donating back to the community, sponsoring soccer team uniforms and things like that. And that kind of investment back in the community. And this is actually a business lesson. I looked at that, and then the second that, the big bad Walmart comes into town and opens up a pharmacy, that would be a direct competitor with my family's business, cheaper prices, easier accessibility because of the timing.
Yeah.
We still prevailed because no one had put that much effort back in the community. And at the end of the day, relationship always wins. you know?
Yeah.
And so anyways, that's kind of a little bit.
It's so cool to see
that's
that
a
and
lot.
have that personal experience of having to like watching family fight that off.
Yeah. I mean, now does that come with expense too? Sure. The reason we got through times like that and still to today is because, you know, my dad, along with a lot of other people that are still working at the store, are taking deliveries after the store closes. We're driving up, I can't remember, it's like a 30-mile radius around Alva to take them and deliver the medication to them, to their door. My dad came down here on Christmas Day to hang out with my wife and my child, and you know, he got like 3 phone calls when he was down here with people that just absolutely had to have medication that day.
Yeah.
Now, is there a bummer side to that? Sure, that like I didn't get my dad necessarily the whole time, and he didn't like to take those calls either. But then when you have a small business that's trying to survive in the day of Walmart and Amazon,
right?
You got to.
You have to.
And the amount of satisfaction that I believe our family has gotten based off of giving back to the community like that surpasses anything you could do monetarily.
Oh yeah, definitely, because that legacy just lives on, and everyone sees that, like, that Holder name, right? And they know, especially, where are you from? Oh, Alva. Oh, okay. Like, they probably know someone who's related to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's funny you mentioned like the real estate too, because I got into the business obviously, and I still have my 580 area code. I left it like that because it was actually starting more conversations, because I could, you know, it's almost like, what was it, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I could get back to someone that had some kind of connection to Alva because of Northwest Oklahoma and just the connections.
Yeah.
And so I actually appreciate having a random phone number from 580, even though I've been in Oklahoma City for, you know, since 2008.
Yeah.
I'm still happy and proud to have that number because it starts more conversations than it finishes. So.
That's so cool. So you grew up like in the small town of Alva, but also like, I mean, it's ingrained in you to give back to the community.
Yeah, sure. At least I'd like to think so. You know, and so that kind of, I think, even if you don't go directly to giving back to the community on its face value, those kind of inner values, you know, and how you put things and how you prioritize things and how you prioritize people. I think that kind of just sticks with you, and just that natural, what I later learned and referred to as servant leadership, became a really big part of it.
Yeah.
And actually, ironically, the reason I learned about servant leadership, or what that phrase even meant, was when I was graduating high school in Alva, I was going to a function at Northwestern Oklahoma State University in Alva, which is a community, or not a community college, it's a very good college in Alva, Oklahoma. A prior president, Tom McDaniel, came to give a dedication speech for a statue on site. And Tom McDaniel at the time was the president of Oklahoma City University.
Yeah.
And my mom had babysat his children and had all these cool things. I know you've talked to Lance before in the past.
Lance has been on, yeah.
My mom helped babysit Lance. And so Tom met me for the first time and said, "Hey, you've got to come check out OCU." And I had been pretty much committed to OSU at that point, because that's where pretty much everyone in Alva went.
Sure.
You either went to OSU or you went to Northwestern.
You follow your friends and you
Maybe
go to OSU.
one person goes to OU, but it's really just OSU or Northwestern. And so I went down there kind of skeptical, and Lance actually gave me a tour of OCU, a private tour, and it was the funniest and most entertaining tour I've ever received.
Right.
And you know, I was terrified going to OSU because of the class sizes. Then I go to OCU and it's like 20-something people per classroom, and professors are texting you if you don't show up to class. You know, that kind of a small, intimate feeling while still getting to experience the city of Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
It was just a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
I mean, Tom McDaniel is absolutely the reason I'm in Oklahoma City, because of that. And I later learned from him about what servant leadership means and how
That's
he ran
awesome.
OCU.
That's really
So,
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a cool
that's really
connection.
cool.
That's the
Yeah.
reason I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. So you graduate and you go to OCU. What do you study? Do you know what you're going to study from that point? Or was it just like, I'm just going to go and find out?
So ironically, and this is actually a benefit of growing up in small town Oklahoma. So I was able to do a lot of different things, whether that was, I was in band, I was in show choir, I was a all district baseball player. And I also was a state champion in speech and debate.
Were you really?
So yeah, so I did several different things, and I was able to do that because it's a small town,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I didn't have to pick like
Literally
one
do
sport.
anything you wanted.
Yeah, I could pretty much do those things. So I was doing those things, and I really enjoyed the speech and debate thing. So I had that aspiration of maybe I want to go be an actor, right? So I kind of thought about doing that. Then the logical side of my brain kicked in and said, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe at least that's not the right fit for me if I want to well, I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but if I want to make a decent living,
you've got to travel around, and it's not easy to be an actor.
Yeah,
isn't it?
So I didn't have that much passion to go into that. So I thought, what's the closest thing next to that? So I thought, broadcasting, maybe I'll be on TV, right? So I jumped to the mass communications department to get my degree in broadcasting. Realized about halfway through that I didn't necessarily want to be in broadcasting, but I really loved mass communications. So I kind of did a dual track in mass communications and public relations.
Okay.
So that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
Now
which is a really good mix.
Yeah, it was good. But ask me if I did anything with it.
Well, who does anything, right? With what the university degree is, unless you're a doctor or an engineer or something.
But man, I was incredibly blessed by OCU in the mass communications department, and the way that a small university, even with OCU, I mean, I was able to be on student government. I was on a competitive sailing team. We got to sail off the coast of France. I got to do all these awesome things in college because it is, again, a smaller university. And even with student government, I mean, we had hundreds of thousands of dollars for a budget. And you're college students, right? What better real life experience in how to run a business than actually giving a bunch of college students semi 100% of the reins to go and try something with some money?
Sure.
So
tell me about the sailing experience.
Oh, it was awesome. There was I don't think it's still there anymore, but OCU had a sailing program. Gleed Holman was the coach, and he was a fantastic, fantastic guy. And he had a family of sailors. He loved sailing. So there are collegiate sailors, collegiate sailing programs in Oklahoma.
Okay.
UCO has a decent one. OCU used to have one. There's several of them. They have local regattas, which obviously sailing is more of an international sport, but there is a lot of collegiate throughout the United States.
Yeah.
So we started this team, traveled locally to do some really cool, just two-man boat racing. Had an opportunity to raise some money to go do a competitive regatta off the coast of France. And so we raised all this money. We were one of 3 U.S. teams that to go over there. Stayed there for a week, lived on a 7-person boat basically all day, every day. It was in France, so they gave us like half of a baguette and a
slab
really
of cheese.
and a really questionable piece of meat, and then that was all you had to eat for the day. So I remember calling my girlfriend at the time, wife now, and mentioning to her how hungry I was.
Yeah.
When I got home, I had lost 10 pounds in 1 week because they weren't feeding us. And when we get off the boat, everything's closed because it's Europe.
Right.
Yeah,
everything shuts at 4
there's no
o'clock.
7-Eleven on the corner that you can get like something that you heat up in the microwave.
Yeah.
But it was an incredible experience. I mean, we're sailing literally off the coast of France competitively. Mm-hmm. I am the furthest thing from a talented sailor. We had some really great people on board that were really good at sailing.
Yeah.
I was big enough and strong enough where I could mess with the spinnaker. So I was in charge of repacking the spinnaker and getting that flying when we needed it.
Yeah.
A blast. I mean, such a cool experience.
Off what coast?
Southeast,
okay.
Southwest. I'm sorry. Lorient.
Okay.
Lorient, France.
How far is that from like Monaco?
That's a good question. I can Google Maps it.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is the south of France is beautiful.
Oh, it was gorgeous,
right.
And it was a small town too. It was really interesting. That's like a international thing. When we were in France, in Paris, mm-hmm. people weren't super nice to Americans. Which,
really?
Yeah, which maybe that's probably deserved in some degree. But when you get into small town France, man, they were incredible people. They were so nice. I mean, they would just go to any length that they'd cater you to you hand and foot. They were just really nice. So great experience.
That's so cool. So, and you said 7 of you went?
There's actually 10 of us. So we'd rotate off, because it was all day. Actually, a funny story of that. One of a good friend of mine who runs a pretty big insurance company now, Drew, he broke his finger one day on the cross country. So we were on the boat all day and we had to go to a different part of the coast.
Yeah.
And so we spent that entire night, which we were having to sleep on the boat or in the van, and it was freezing that night. We spent most of it in the ER in this sketchy little hospital in this tiny town in France, getting his finger put up in a little cast. And that was a wild thing. I was like in the 3rd or 4th day, so everyone was already exhausted. And it was just that's just one of the small
all these
things
stories from these events. Yeah.
Sleeping on the floorboard of a rented van, it was awesome.
How old are you at this point?
I was 19 or 20.
So sophomore, junior year.
Yeah. I got to do some cool things.
That's awesome.
Between that and I was also my freshman through actually a couple years after senior year, I did it part-time. I worked at the Science Museum of Oklahoma, did a one-man science show where I did experiments for kids, and man, it was awesome.
Like the same experiment, just for groups of kids coming through?
No, so it's a one-man. So it's literally a stage. I'd have anywhere from 50 to 700 people in the auditorium, and I'd do about an hour-long science demonstration show where I did explosions and lighting things on fire, and bring up kids from the audience, adults from the audience, and do experiments.
Do you remember all the stuff? Could you do it now?
Oh yeah, I could do it. I mean, actually, and you've had Matt Hoffman. I actually got to blow up hydrogen, oxygen-filled bubbles in Matt Hoffman's hand on stage.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. And that got me. That was actually a job that led me to. I was able to be I was the very first mascot of the Oklahoma City Barons hockey team.
Interesting. That is like, wow. Yeah. Okay.
But to any hockey players that are listening to this, and if you made fun of the mascot the first game, that's because they didn't tell me I was going to skate until the day of.
You're kidding
Luckily,
me.
I am semi-decent at skating, but putting a giant head on
and
that you can't see out, and there's strobe lights and like girls dancing and everyone's cheering is pretty stressful. The fact that I didn't fall is literally a gift.
Were you like Bambi on ice though? Is that
I
what
wasn't
it was
terrible,
like?
but like anybody who's a hockey player, like clearly knew this guy is not a skater by trade, you know. But it was awesome. I got to do some really cool things. About halfway through the season, we had to part ways. I couldn't be as available as they wanted me to be because they wanted me to go to all these events. Got to do some cool events with Rumble, though. Of course, he'd pop out of his van with like strobe lights and like dancing women, and I'd get out of my Jeep Cherokee and like go change in the men's bathroom, you know. So it wasn't exactly the same spectacle, but it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. I have good memories of it now.
Right.
But that was an experience. They were a great organization. Just it was the beginning of the season. They needed to fill that slot. They found some punk college kid, me, to do it.
You're like, I'll do it.
Yep.
Good money?
It was okay. It wasn't bad. The scary thing about it, though, I literally went that night to interview, and I left with the suit. This is the one suit they had. I didn't sign a contract. I didn't sign anything. They just handed me this suit. And like, gosh, I hope you... Like,
so you walk out into this giant head.
Yeah, with this giant blue bag with a Derek the Mountain Lion head and this whole jersey and tail and everything. And of course, kids pulling the tail and pull the whiskers out. Yeah. I actually met one of the agents, Brad Boone. I met Brad Boone at a hockey game, and he didn't know it. I found it on his Facebook later.
And you have a picture with Brad.
With Brad, but we didn't know each other. Yeah,
that is so funny. So funny. Shout out to Brad and Rachel. Yeah. That is hilarious.
So, but anyways, I mentioned that only because the Science Museum led me to that.
Yeah.
And the Science Museum led me. I got to go do science experiments at Oklahoma or the Children's Hospital, and got to do experiments with kids who were terminally ill. I mean, I got to do stuff at the state fair.
Yeah.
I had a wealth of an experience through college because of the environment that OCU provided, and because of my fantastic job at Science Museum Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, that's crazy. That's so funny. So did you carry the kind of like love of just being, and we state champion at debate and stuff, did you carry that into university as well?
Yeah, I should have. I mean, I didn't do anything with it, and I was more on the speech side, right? So I wasn't necessarily going up there debating. I mean, I could, but I wasn't as talented at that. I had done, because I got my state jacket in acting as well. So I got both all-state for acting and all-state for speech. So I was more of that. I was always comfortable in front of people, which is why the Science Museum led really well easily after that. So I didn't really get to do anything with... I could have auditioned for plays. I didn't. You know, of the things I could have done, that I probably was most prepared to do was that. But I decided to leave those roles for people who were actually studying the degree. Yeah. They're probably substantially better than I was anyways, so I didn't even try. That
would have been such a cool story though. You're like, I'll just try out one time, and they gave it to you, kind of thing.
They probably wouldn't have. We had some really great, and I've got great friends that are very successful, so I don't want to pretend that I'm in the same ballpark that they are. But I love doing it.
And you're still involved with OCU now, right?
Yeah, so I'm on our alumni board right now, which is actually going through a little bit of a change right now. It'll be kind of a different thing moving forward after a couple months. But yeah, I just had a meeting with him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So again, like the stuff that you did growing up, the stuff that your family's always done, given back, you just kind of brought to Oklahoma City and just same with stuff like that, which is kind of cool.
And it's interesting, and I know you've had some people on from Midtown Rotary Club. So we've, Kirsten and I, because OCU is obviously a very, or if you don't know, it's a very arts-focused school. A lot of, arts heavy. There's a lot of acting and dancing and everything. There's a lot of fantastic business schools and things as well. It's known as like performing arts.
Yeah.
And I've always been passionate about that. My wife and I, Kirsten, were looking for an opportunity to be a part of something like that. Stumbled on it because Laura Lahman, our president right now, actually had invited us to come to Midtown Rotary. And this was a club that did nothing but help volunteer for arts-based organization and raise money to give back to arts-based programs and things that are furthering the finer arts in schools and the communities. And it was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And I was so pumped to find something like that. And that was where I really... because I need to be behind the vision too, right?
Sure.
So like I love giving back when I can just give back, but if I really am bought into the vision,
when you have like a legit like say in things too, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how when we, I came and hung out with you guys at Midtown at the Rotary, and I've been a couple of times before that. Like it's a cool group of people.
Oh yeah.
Everyone kind of pretty much go in the same direction, aren't they? And if they're not, it's easy to kind of get everyone together. And everyone's like-minded.
Well, and the cool thing I like about Midtown Rotary is that there's a lot of people that join organizations to say that they joined the organization, right? Or I want to be a part of this particular group of people because just by being associated with these people, I get like a higher elevated point of status.
It's a resume builder. Or whatever
it's a resume builder, but that is the furthest thing. What we attempt in Midtown Rotary Club. If you're not, when we're volunteering at the Plaza Festival or something like, we're putting up bleachers and doing like the dirty work that people don't want to do. And we're happy to do that. We're not there just to take a picture and leave. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff, because that's just how I was raised, small town again. I don't want to sit there and just stand there and look pretty as a volunteer effort. I put me to work. I brought my work gloves. I'm ready to go. I got jeans on. Let's do this thing. Yeah. So we can actually make an impact instead of just talking about it.
Yeah, definitely. And the Plaza Fest it's a great festival to go to.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. All kinds of. We've got Momentum coming up. There's all these art things that we volunteer for. We do a lot of really cool things.
Well, and the spelling beer is coming up too.
Yeah,
right?
next
Which
week.
We announced recently.
Next Friday. Yeah, I'm really pumped for that. I was in charge of the beer vendors and the food vendors for that. Which I know we had some Hal Smith too. Hal Smith is actually sponsoring. Pub W is sponsoring the event next Friday.
Nice.
Tickets online now.
Yeah. Hopefully this one goes out before.
Yeah, it might go out. That's okay. If you went, I hope it was fun.
Are you competing?
No, the spelling bee itself, absolutely not. I feel comfortable in a group of people if I know what I'm talking about. Right. You get me up there. I can't, there's so many words simple words that I spell wrong. Yeah. I before E, except as re, I'm going to get confused. Without spell check, I'm pretty up a creek at this point in my life. Which is kind of sad, but.
I think the generation of people growing up now, they're the same way, right?
Well, yeah, which I kind of hate being a part of that cliche, but.
Always on their phone, all that stuff.
Guilty is charged.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you get back to Alva much?
As much as I can. It's hard. We've got a 14-month-old baby now, and he's awesome. Yeah. He's actually named after my granddad, who helped start Holder Drug and Alva, Jim Holder. So he's Jimmy Holder. As much as we can, we like going up there. My dad's still up there, so we love going up there. Yeah. Working to get back more that Jimmy's a little bit older.
Do you have like brothers and sisters that still up there?
I've got my brother who lives down here, actually works at Tinker Air Force Base. So he's a computer programmer.
Older or younger?
Older. And
so
very
he kind
different.
of blazed the trail then, I guess. Was he you say he's completely different to you growing up?
Yeah, well, we actually have a very similar sense of humor, but if you were to see us in the room, you probably wouldn't think that we're related. Yeah.
That's probably a good thing sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, for him. He didn't have to didn't have to be too much like me.
So you never wanted to go down, I guess, the Air Force route?
No. Actually, you know what? I thought about it. Okay, so that's kind of interesting that you bring that up, because I went through what I probably have been through a couple of them, if I'm being honest with myself, but what I commonly refer to as my semi-quarter life crisis. When I graduated OCU, I knew that I didn't really want to use that degree. So during my spring semester of my senior year, I started working on my private pilot's license. After I graduated, I actually kept working towards my instrument rating, and then I also got my commercial license after that point. So I did consider joining the Air Force at that point to try to work my hours up and get into the business. But that's what I did for a year after I graduated college, was work on that certification. Then I got down to the school down in Addison, Texas, to study for my certified flight instructor exam. And about halfway through that is when I had like my quarter life crisis, thinking, what am I doing? This is a lot of effort. I'm going really fast for this whole thing. Yeah. And be flying people for a living.
Am I invested in this?
Yeah. And it's an expensive thing, which of course I could talk about that for a long time. There's a pilot shortage about to happen because people are retiring out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's a hard 65. Once you hit 65, you have to retire. You can't stay in it a couple of years if you're a pilot. There's about to be a lot of people that are about to retire. but they've made it so complicated to get the amount of hours required to actually get a job in the airlines, and the cost that it takes to build that many hours is so difficult, or it can be very difficult.
Right.
Back in the day, they had to fly canceled checks back and forth. So there's 1,000 different jobs, but now that doesn't exist with the internet. So half of the jobs that you could use to build your hours don't exist anymore. And it's hard to even do that if you're a flight instructor to build up that many hours.
Yeah.
It takes several years, and you could be as indebted as like a doctor to do it. And so it's a lot of effort.
It's going to be interesting.
But it's a fun job too.
Have you thought about it with the shortage coming up? Like what?
Oh yeah. Everyone, of course. I'm trying to fly a lot more nowadays. But yeah, of course. Yeah. My father-in-law's my father-in-law's a captain for Delta, and of course my brother-in-law is actually in college right now to go be an airline pilot.
Okay.
And he did go the Air Force route.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what would it take for you if you were just like, okay, like I'm going to go do it. I want to become a commercial pilot.
Well, so I've got the commercial license right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can just go to them and fly. That means I can fly for hire, right? So I could have a single engine aircraft and go fly for hire if I was current, which I'm not currently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you'd probably go the CFI route, which is a certified flight instructor, CFII, which is to do instruments so you can fly in the clouds. You have to build up enough of those hours, enough hours in multi-engine, and enough hours in total to get certain ratings, and then you move into the regional airlines, and then hopefully feed into the majors. It takes a while, but in order for you to get onto a major, like the Deltas, the American Airlines, things like that,
international
Southwest
flights, stuff like that.
Yeah, or even just, honestly, even just national flights. So, for instance, if I'm flying from here to Dallas, it's probably going to be on a regional airline.
Gotcha.
They're not going to have a massive plane to take us for 30 minutes south, right? So those pilots are usually a little bit less experienced. Still, obviously, fantastic pilots. Just they're building their hours to more than likely go up to the majors.
Yeah,
but that could take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to go into the majors.
Yeah.
But then you got a great job.
So if you decided now I'm going to go do this, you'd be 5 years in and you'd be flying from here to Dallas?
I'd probably less than that based on where I'm at. If you really went all in.
Yeah.
I'd sure be in debt. You could do it in a shorter time frame for sure. And there's a lot of more, corporate gigs. I've got buddies of mine that fly corporately for like Bob Mills, and that's all they do is
that's like the gig, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. You'd be surprised though, because sometimes they have their phone. It's on call.
Yeah.
So if not necessarily that situation I just mentioned, but other friends I've had that have worked for other companies, if you get a call today, hey, my wife wants to go shopping in Dallas, you got to stop what you're doing and go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jobs that exist that are a lot more scheduled out, but not all of them are. The corporate job can be awesome, but it can also be pretty stressful.
Yeah, I met a guy he's one of the pilots for Hobby Lobby, and he said we have a strict schedule. We only use it for business. We do not do any like personal vacation holidays. And he's like, I'm flying Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
He's like, and then very rarely do we take off on a Thursday. It's Wednesday, and then we're back Friday.
That's the gig.
Like that sounds amazing.
Which there's not a lot, if you think about it. So when oil prices were great, how many corporate pilots there probably were around Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
But what's the first thing you can cut when oil prices tank and you don't have enough money? You don't really need a private plane.
Well, it's the biggest depreciating asset you can get, right? Pretty much.
So
that's when I think of you being a pilot and being from Alva. How many have you gone the crop dust route yet? Have you gone and flown at literally 15 feet off the ground over any fields?
I'll tell you, so in Fairview, Oklahoma, the Regier family, shout out to the Regiers, they have a family-owned crop dusting, and that I'm a pretty decent pilot, but my buddy Matt, he is one of those guys that was just literally born to fly an airplane.
Yeah.
It's like if you were to get into the car with, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he was just born to drive a car.
Yeah.
This guy was born to fly an airplane. He just feels it. He just wears an airplane and flies. I don't have that level of confidence in me. But I will say that like the only reason I got into flying in the first place, so my granddad was a pilot, my dad's a pilot, my brother's a pilot, I'm a pilot. It's a generational thing.
Any like military pilots?
No,
okay.
It was purely, so we families from Alva, but we farm in Thomas, Oklahoma, which is just north of Weatherford.
Sure. And
so my granddad would fly down to Thomas to check the farm and fly back at the night to take deliveries and things
That's
like
the
that.
Life,
and harvest.
isn't it?
Yeah, they come from a family of workers. Yeah.
That sounds like I'm thinking of like the first scene of Pearl Harbor where they jump in the plane as kids and they like start it up and like.
You actually watched Pearl Harbor?
Yes, it's like one of the greatest movies ever. I love that. I'm a big Pearl Harbor fan.
Really?
Well, not what happened.
That's a hot take.
Right?
A lot of people hated Pearl Harbor.
Oh, it's a great. Well, I can understand if you're an American, you hate it because it's not. It's It's pretty destructive. It's not a good thing that happened.
Popular in Wales, huh?
Yeah, it's just a good movie.
It is a good movie.
And I just like
Nothing wrong with Ben Affleck.
Well, and I also like Spitfires and
the planes. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, like the plane part of it. Like the first half of the movie's not great, but he does go to the UK and fly Spitfires, doesn't he, for a bit?
Oh yeah.
So it does all that. The Eagle Squadron in the UK. That's what he was part of. Big deal. Big deal. That's why, because there was a shortage of UK pilots. So the US were, I guess, apparently better at flying, so they asked them to come over.
Why do you say that with such disdain?
Well, US was,
apparently they're
that whole like we came to save you thing. Like you would not believe how much I get that. The most American thing
we could possibly do.
Oh yeah, you would not believe how much I get that. Oh, if the whole you'd be speaking German, whatever. But so that pilot stuff, that's really interesting. Yeah. When was the last time you were in a plane?
A couple of weeks ago.
So you've been really trying to go recently.
Yeah, right? I mean, I haven't been like I've been shut down by weather. It's a little bit harder when you've got a baby and a job, right? So, and I'm trying to do it. Because we've got a family plane, trying to coordinate with my dad to have the plane down here so I can really get checked out.
So just keep it at like Sundance or Wiley Post.
Yeah, Wiley Post. That's where I learned, is at Wiley Post.
Yeah.
So, but my dad flies everywhere. He's been a part of several, or he used to be a part of a state agency, and he still does a lot of stuff for our small community, and he flies people all around the state.
That's so cool.
So I think he finds reasons to do it more often than not because he just really likes flying. And I always joke with him because my entire inheritance is in that plane, so he just really likes flying.
Yeah.
But we like flying too, so it's actually a perfect fit. So it's cool.
That's awesome. I've been up in a few like Cessnas, and I actually took off once, and I was scared out of my mind. Like I was and I didn't realize it's quite heavy when you pull back. I was shocked how heavy it was when you pull back and take off. And then once you're up, you're in the air, it's fine. But I was bombing down the runway at 60 mile an hour. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, it's time to pull back. And you're like, oh, okay, I got to put some effort into this. And then once you're up, like, but when you bank and you're like, whoa, this thing's tiny, I could literally fall out the side.
The cool thing about planes, when I always say this to everybody, and because a lot of people have a kind of a fear of small planes, right? Everything about planes is about efficiency and redundancy, right? Yeah. So you want to be as efficient as possible and redundant as possible. There's like 10 backup things for everything that could possibly go wrong. And especially in a smaller plane, it's just a paper airplane.
It's going to glide.
If you lose your engine, and we're in Oklahoma, you're going to find some flat land. It might not be a comfortable landing, but you're going to be fine.
You'll find a field somewhere.
Versus if I'm in a 777, a Boeing 777, that's going to go down like a rock, right? I mean, it's still going to glide, but I'd much rather be in a small plane than in a big plane.
Yeah, you're not landing that on a field anyway.
No, it's going to be hard, yeah.
You're landing, you're sliding into something. Yeah. That's, I'm glad that you're doing that pilot stuff a bit more, though. That seems really awesome. Yeah. I'm sure Jimmy would love to go up.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. He's got to kind of keep on the tradition. He's kind of... not cursed into it, but almost born into it.
He kind of has to, right?
Yeah, it's almost.
You don't want to be like the one who doesn't.
Yeah.
Does your brother have kids?
No, they're about to. They're pregnant with twins though, and like next month.
Boys or girls?
Both. One of each. Yeah.
Interesting. That's literally the best thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you got one to carry the name, and the other just the wife gets the girl.
And I mean, I think going through one semi recently and like, oh my gosh, you're doing that times 2.
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
Yeah.
But my wife brought up a good point. Like they're not going to know any different.
They're not. You're right.
Like that's like they're going to be born into twins. That's all. That's their ground zero.
Yeah.
Versus like if you were to give me twins now, having already dealt with one, like my hair's on fire, right?
That's the worst, and is having the twins the second time.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that had that and made it through. I just never experienced that. But Godspeed to my brother.
Do you plan on having any more?
Yeah, probably have them. Yeah. Don't ask me when.
Fingers crossed that you don't have twins a second time.
No, the good Lord, don't say that to me.
Jimmy needs a play partner for sure.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting. I didn't expect you to say that you'd been flying a lot more. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm like, it's part of my growth plan for the years to really get back into it and make sure that I'm making it more of a priority.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really expensive hobby to not play with.
Very expensive, right? Well, especially when it's in your inheritance.
Right, yeah.
Like,
especially
should probably take full advantage of this right now.
Take advantage of it. But yeah, I mean, I've been really blessed to do the things that I've done, and it's kind of, I think everything has set the stage for where I am now, what I've done, and kind of everything that I've learned has set up the stage to help me take the risks that I needed to, and
Yeah.
everything.
And you mentioned you met Kirsten at college.
Yeah. That's
So-
actually a funny story.
We got time.
I don't know if you've heard it. So,
probably haven't.
So when I first met my wife, I was in a relationship with somebody else, and it wasn't exactly the relationship I wanted to be in. No disrespect, but it wasn't necessarily the relationship I wanted to be in any longer. And I hadn't met Kirsten. I was on this pre-college fraternity trip, rush trip, right?
Yeah.
And I saw Kirsten on the other side of a campfire and started randomly talking to her. She was there with another guy, and she made the biggest impression on me. I just honestly, the heavens opened, and I was sitting here thinking, if there's girls like this at OCU, what am I doing with my life?
I'm picturing that moment right now. You're sat at a campfire and you're looking at it through the flames. We're recording
this is literally what's happening.
We're recording this on Valentine's Day. This is a good day. Yeah, that's funny.
And so, that's actually what happened. She was literally across the flame from me, and I could see her, and I was like, well, just the way she was talking, I could tell she was intellectual, and she liked the arts, and I loved everything about her. And so she made this profound impact on me. I go home, and I come back to OCU a month later or something when school starts. I happened to run into her on campus, and she broke my heart in one fell swoop because she reached out her hand to introduce herself to me because she had forgotten who I was.
Oh, crushed.
So I had gone home, and I actually had ended the relationship I was in and got back to school, and this girl who made such a profound impact on me legitimately forgot who I was. Which she hates that story because she will tell the story afterwards that I had been dating somebody else in college, and then I was ignoring Kirsten apparently, even though I didn't even think she was in my playing field.
Yeah.
And then I finally got together with her, but she's not a huge fan of that story. Sorry.
So what is her side of the story then?
Her side of the story is that she was having a terrible time on that rush trip with the guy she was dating, and was not focused on anything else but just trying to get out of that situation. So I'll give her grace for that. It was just funny because of how much of a profound impact she made on me.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you guys have traveled quite a bit too, right? You've been to my side of the pond.
Yeah, so we studied abroad. That was another thing I got to do at OCU. We studied abroad in London.
Yeah.
We're outside of London in Surbiton. And it was awesome. I mean, we were there. I mean, I say studied abroad. It was 5 weeks. It was a summer study abroad. That was huge, though, because I was 19 years old. That's the first time. I mean, I came from a town of 3,500 people, right? Depending on what time of the year it is, 3,500 people. Oklahoma City was referred to as the city. Yeah. We just called it the city. I had never really, I had been traveling. I had been into New York City, but I'd never stayed there, know, and I just fly to London.
You lived somewhere for 5 weeks.
Yeah. Without my parents, without anybody. I'm just living there for 5 weeks. I got to learn the tube like the back of my hand in London. Traveled to Wales for a weekend. That was awesome. There was a arts festival going on that weekend. Everything was in Welsh and English, so it was really confusing.
Very.
But it was awesome. I mean, I loved it. We didn't have a whole lot of money, so some people went to like France and did these other things. We had enough money to get on the train to go to Wales.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And then we went to the other side. The beach. On the east side of the country, there's that famous beach. With
like the White Cliff, Dover, with like the White Cliffs. East side of like where?
Of Britain.
Norwich, maybe?
I can't remember. We traveled over there and saw Joshua Radin. I'm a artist. We got to go do that. Go saw a concert on the other side of the country. I don't know.
Yeah.
We did some neat stuff, and it was on a budget, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of my north,
I'm
south,
losing
east, and
it.
west.
I can't remember what it was.
Must have been a good time.
I'll think of it.
What year was that? You were in college?
That was after my freshman year, so it was right before sophomore year.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Right?
So like late 2000s?
Yeah, that would have been 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I haven't been back recently though, obviously with little Jimmy and.
No, we did go. I mean, last time I've been back to Europe was France for the sailing thing junior year. Haven't been. I guess we did go. Oh, I'm sorry. We did go to Ireland. We did a deferred honeymoon because we couldn't.
Right. I do. Yeah.
We couldn't afford to go anywhere for our honeymoon because I didn't have a job yet. So we did a deferred honeymoon and did like a backpacking trip around Ireland. We didn't know we were going to stay except for one night. We just had a backpack each and we just figured it out.
That scares me so much.
It was literally the best time we ever had.
Yeah. More people should do that.
It was incredible. Because once you get out of the cities and you go and you find, then you get to see the true heart of the country, right? So we literally, based off of referrals, skipped from town to town on referrals to actual bed and breakfast, not like an Airbnb.
Sure.
And if somebody was full, okay, who's a friend that you've got? And then, call so-and-so up the street.
Yeah.
And so-and-so up the street had a room for us. And then she asked us what we were doing the next day. And we said, I don't know, what should we do? And she called her friend and she gave us a personal tour of the island.
Cool.
We had all these fantastic experiences and we just had 2 backpacks.
Yeah.
I have never had so much fun on a trip in my life, not knowing what we were doing.
Yeah.
Which again, my wife is incredible at everything, but the one thing that bugs her more than anything is not having a plan. And so getting her to do that was difficult.
Pushing her so far out of her comfort zone.
And she had more fun than I did.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Especially halfway around the world.
Yeah. I mean, luckily it was in an English-speaking country.
True.
Although it's debatable. It's probably like if I were to speak to you in Wales, it'd probably be hard to understand you.
Yeah.
In some parts of Ireland, I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Google Translate, please.
Yeah. Can you type that for me? I don't know what you're saying.
Do you think that it's possible for people to have that experience here?
Man, that's a good question. I hate to say anything negative about Americans.
I think it's just too far apart, right?
It's kind of tough to. I think it depends on what part of the country you're in.
Yeah.
I think you could. I think you could go backpack around the United States.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kind people. Of course, we don't think everything as being as pretty as it is overseas. You know, we think about like the castles you guys have in Wales, and we think they're incredible. You probably think they're rubbish.
I see them every day. Yeah.
So, but then so it's hard for me to think about someone necessarily wanting to do that here. But if they did, there's a lot of nice people. Until you go to Alva, Oklahoma, they'll just literally just bring you into their house.
Yeah,
and they will just take care of you. Yeah, and will feed you a lot of probably very unhealthy food.
Yeah, but you'll have the best food ever, right?
Yeah, but isn't that great about? I mean, that's even Oklahoma City, because I mean that's like one of my big. You kind of mentioned it a little bit. That's one of my biggest value propositions, right? Is like the economic growth of Oklahoma City, and I don't care who you are, what level of influence you are, you can do something to help the benefit of Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City is just a big small town. Right.
100%. Yeah.
Everybody's connected. And I think to some degree every city is, but I can just really feel it here. Because even with anything divisive going on in the economy or politically, at the end of the day in Oklahoma, people will take care of you.
Yeah.
Right. Which is probably why you talk about the podcast and why you have this as Oklahoma to begin with. It's a fantastic place. We have people can look down on us because we're Southerners. People can look, I mean, the Southern comfort thing, we're just good people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have an argument with somebody, but you can still understand that person would still do anything for you.
Right.
And so what better of a community to get back to than something like that?
Yeah. And you're right. It just comes down to just like people. It always comes back to the people, doesn't it? And that's one thing that Hal said too, was like, I just love people.
Yeah.
And he grew up in Ardmore, which is, I guess, equally a small town, right?
Right. I mean, it's bigger, but it's still, I mean, compared to most people, it's definitely a smaller town.
It's, I think more people, everybody I've met that's from a small town is the same way, right? And which I love, because they know their values, they know what they like to do, they know what's right, they know what's wrong. Sure, they probably did some stupid things like all kids do in small towns, right?
Yeah,
that's all you just go out into a farm and whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But that's all you got to do. That's all you do.
I've got things I probably shouldn't say in a podcast that we did. But I think about that now as being a father now too, because that's going to be a struggle. And I mean, I love Alva. I don't know that I would ever move back there at this point, just based off of what I've got going on here. But I do think about that as sometimes as a sad thing, because if I was in middle school, right, and I wanted to go to the movie, I got my bike and I went to the movie.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go get a Coke, got my bike and went to Coke. If I wanted to go down to my friend's house and come back around dinner time, I just left.
Yeah.
The door was open. No one locked their cars. It was no big deal. You can't do that here. I can't recreate that for my child here. And that's not, I mean, Oklahoma City's fantastic. I'm obsessed with Oklahoma City. You just can't do that here. I mean, things aren't close enough together. There's too many people.
Yeah.
So I think about some of the things that I got to experience, which taught me everything that you just said about, the values and things that I grew up with, and the things you can't really teach somebody. They're learned traits. I struggle with how to recreate that for my child.
Right.
For my son.
And it's now like, because how old is Jimmy now? He's 1 and a bit, right?
Yeah, he's 14 months.
So almost. At least you got a little bit more time to figure that out before he's like
Oh, good
walking.
Lord. We're not gonna. We're
he's
never
walking
gonna,
now,
he's walking,
but like, you got a few, I guess.
He's not hanging out with buddies.
Sure. Yeah. You got time to figure it out, but yeah, that's really interesting because no one's, I mean, my brother's 5 years younger than me, and he didn't grow up the same way I did.
Yeah.
And then you put a complete generation between that, and it is totally different.
Well, that's probably, to be fair, that's probably part of it too. Because I don't know. I don't think my dad I probably shouldn't say that. I don't think my dad still locks his car, but I think probably most people do in Alva. It is different times.
True.
But yeah, I mean, that's the hard thing. And, I've always kind of viewed myself as someone who is a generalist. Mm-hmm. I've never been just super excelling at one thing. I've always been pretty good at most things, which was always not always. I perceived that to be a bad thing for the majority of my life until basically the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Then I finally realized, like, ooh, that's why I can connect with so many different people and why I have the kind of friend range that I do.
Yeah.
Just totally based off of that. And my relating back that to my son is because of how far everything away is in the city. Like when Jimmy starts getting interested in acting or golf or baseball, it's going to be hard for him to be able to do all of those things together in the city. You almost have to pick a lane and go.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably good in some respect, but I think in most respects that's a bad thing.
It's good if he wants to be a professional athlete, he wants to go down that route, and that's only one thing he does. But developmentally, like growing up and socializing, it's not the best. You're not going to get to grow up in a small town and play every single sport and be a part of all these groups. Because I'm probably the same way as you. Like I feel like I'm decent at a lot of things, and I definitely can relate to a lot of people. I had like my golf group, I had my football group, and and then I had my I love cars, right? So I have my group of car friends, and now I have my group of friends in the States, right? Mm-hmm. And all this kind of stuff. But I've never had that one thing where I've gone completely all out at. Yeah. So I didn't think of it that way.
Well, and it's important, and that's I'm bringing it back to Midtown Rotary. I mean, and that's why I'm so passionate about the arts. I am a firm believer that you have to have everything, right? I mean, it can't just be like we're just playing all day and everything's just a whimsical dream. And man, you've got to give them an opportunity to do some of these things. And when you're talking about, bands don't have enough money to buy instruments, but the football team has 45 different jerseys to choose from. Give me a joke. Yeah. Give me a break.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, these people, if I can point, the one thing I've told my wife, our one goal for our child, or for Jimmy, is I want him to have empathy.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can teach him or somehow portray to him to have empathy, to have a perspective of somebody else's point of view, and to take that into consideration when he's making a decision, we will have won. I think the only way that we can do that is expose him to a lot of different things.
Have to.
And that's incredibly difficult when everything is so regimented.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do multiple things, and schools don't provide art anymore.
Right.
They don't have enough funding for a theater. They don't have enough funding for a speech and debate team. They don't have enough funding. Every year I give to my speech and debate team, they still don't have enough money to travel. They have to raise money to travel.
Yeah.
And if I point to one thing that's ever going to give me success in this life, 100% it is to be able to speak in front of a group of people.
Yes.
It's pretty much the number one fear out of all Americans is to speak in front of a group of people. I learned how to do that in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And speech and debate did that for me. And that's one of the poorest funded programs. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I also understand basic economics, that football teams bring in money.
Sure.
I get that. And you can't forget about the arts. I mean, you just can't. That's vital. I mean, maybe I'm just biased.
No, but you're not biased. It works. You've experienced it, right?
And I've seen it work for my family.
Yeah.
And the people that I know from the people I grew up with that are the most successful today.
Yeah.
Were in speech and debate and theater. And we're not talking about people that are actors. We're talking about people that are attorneys, that are physical therapists, that are accountants. They were in speech and debate. They were also in sports. Because I think sports is incredible. I love baseball more than anything.
Yeah.
And that they had to have that element. I just think I think it's critical. I think we're doing a huge
They just go together,
disservice.
don't they? You've got to have that competitive side and the camaraderie of playing sports, but also the competitive side and the being able to speak on stage and debate and act and all that other stuff that will shut people down if they are asked to do it.
Well, and expose you to something. I mean, most plays are something about maybe a controversial topic, right? That you might gain some empathy from. It's like, man, I didn't understand. I remember doing a play in high school about the Israeli-Pakistani conflict. Like, I didn't know anything about that.
Right? Alva, Oklahoma. That's not one of the
and like that's like,
list,
okay, I can understand what's happening here. I can have empathy with these people. I don't know, and I think that guides your decision-making abilities through everything.
Definitely.
Which I'm getting kind of like existential here, but I think that's important.
It is important.
But it's also not, and I think about this too, because I always think about both sides of that conversation. The other side of that conversation is that it's hard to quantify that in a school setting.
Sure.
I can't give someone an exam and say, well, what did you learn? That's art. You can't quantify it.
No, you can't. Yeah.
So I understand
that's the hard part of
it's
it.
hard to find something that you can't quantify.
Right.
But good Lord, I mean, I don't know, someone's better at research than I am, but whoever that person is, if they listen to it, like, gosh, I hope they contact me.
Just more social experience and doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. And it's okay to do both, right? It's okay to be the star football player and be in show choir.
Yeah. But then again, it takes a very strong individual person to be able to do that.
Yeah,
right. Because you're in high school, and like I said, the environment leads to that, right? Because growing up, you're like, oh, this guy plays football, he's awesome, everyone loves him, but his team's going to give him so much crap for going to. That's growing up. That's how it is, isn't it?
Totally.
Sadly,
there were baseball tournaments. I was a starting member on the baseball team, and there was a tournament that conflicted with a state tournament for speech and debate every single year. Every year, I chose speech and debate state. Over that tournament for baseball, and I got a lot of crap for it.
Yeah.
There was not a better decision I could have possibly made.
Yeah. You don't want a baseball trophy?
I mean, I love baseball. Yeah. I mean, I love it. I think, but my fondest memories growing up in like travel baseball team and, in Alva, Oklahoma, traveling to Kansas and doing all this stuff for baseball. But when I think to what's gotten me to where I am now, it's speech and debate every time.
Yeah.
And the arts.
Because the things that you learn in baseball aren't going to outlast the things that you learn doing speech and debate.
Yeah. I mean, they're going hand in hand, team sport. I mean, I could go I could go on the same rant for sports too. And sports is already pretty well funded.
Very well funded.
So we need to make sure that the arts get funded too.
Well, it's good to see, like in Oklahoma City now, the arts are starting to, with the new museum, the contemporary art, Oklahoma Contemporary buildings going up.
Steve
and there just
Boyd
seems to be a lot of stuff going with that.
Midtown Rotarian, he's going in there and
Yeah. That's a cool building. I don't know if some people like it, some people don't. But
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and then I guess the most recent topic about arts and kind of branding would be this new state rebrand. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
What do you think?
I don't understand why everyone's so upset about it.
Same.
I think people just.
I don't like the logo. I tweeted out this and I got completely lit up for it. So I don't like the logo, but I like the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Right? But my tweet before that was, can somebody confirm what's gone on here? Was it, have we hired 200 volunteers of Oklahomans, and then have we paid a company in Canada?
Right.
And I'm not a huge branding guy, but I know a little bit about it. And someone who wasn't very happy with me on Twitter, it's different, isn't it? People have strong thumbs, and that's it. And I was very polite back.
Thumbs,
she just said, yes, it was they were Oklahoman, and I had to ask more questions to get everything out of the information. And then I saw a great article. So there is an article about it. People just need to dive into it. But I did see that Lieutenant Gov Pennell was equally throwing fire back at people replying to him saying, and I like that. Like he's just not like sitting in his office. Like he is replying and confronting and battling for the thing that he's just put a lot of his time into.
Well, and I love that you said that because Lieutenant Governor Pennell, like I heard him speak at an event a couple months ago, and he was talking about his Oklahoma bathroom tour, right? So he's going to every travel stop in the state to like see what the experience is in the travel bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sitting here thinking about the bigger picture, right? So I don't even mind. I don't know if I'm in love with the logo or not, but I didn't do anything to put it together. So why?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have an opinion, but I'm more about moving things forward and having our state logo being just okay before now.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on. I mean, that's not exactly a great introduction to, might as well say just like, well, at least we're not Texas or something like that.
And now it's imagine that. Yeah. Right? The tagline.
And so at least we've got something moving forward, and I'm just so excited. And maybe this is something that's been happening before. I just wasn't privy to it, but Lieutenant Governor Pennell doing all the work that he has to really regain that pride in Oklahoma. And honestly, maybe you take the side that if you don't like the logo and you're vocal about it, hey, that means that you're passionate about the state and you care about what it looks like. I could probably make an argument that's way better than that was 10 years ago. People were maybe embarrassed to talk about being in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're not a flyover state anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
So people, and maybe if we hadn't done all the things we had with like maps, all the maps initiatives and the Thunder and all that stuff, and all the, obviously the businesses around the state of Oklahoma helping that, if we wouldn't have had that, a rebrand might not have mattered. No one was going to care because I was like, doesn't matter. We don't really have pride in the state. So I hadn't thought about it like that. Maybe at least people have pride in the state enough to argue about a logo. So there's the workaround there, so we can find.
And a lot of people would like diving into like, I guess the company, and from what I've been speaking to my branding and advertising people that I know, they said that they got a complete deal for it was $259,000. I think it cost, and I think it was like. I think the company they hired, which had just managed basically all of these 200 people, right? Yeah. And 200 people from Oklahoma came together to do this. But also what a lot of people didn't know is they rebranded like the entire website and all of the other websites.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
And all the state logo, like all the different agencies.
Yeah. And they look so much better.
And it's unified.
Yes. So I did see one tweet yesterday and Lieutenant Governor replied to it and I made me laugh really hard. He posted a picture of the new logo. But when you put that logo on a black t-shirt, it's a black star, right? Or a red t-shirt, it's a red star. It's not a white star, which is what they said. And there's a guy has commented, he posted a picture with like a bunch of people wearing the shirt. It's a gray shirt, logo over a gray star. And the guy is like, I still can't see the white star. And Pennell replied saying, well, you better keep looking. Like, this is brilliant. They're having a blast doing this. Like, and I
hope he is having fun. I hope he's not like brooding over it.
No. But I've reached out to a couple of people who are on his design thing I want to have him on the podcast. I want him to share the story and let's talk about it more.
Get their side.
Let's talk about it for an hour and see how people can, because when you see like one picture and a logo and then, I saw someone said it's like, the state now looks like an insurance agency or something like that. Yeah. But nobody dives into it, right? Nobody dives into the story and hopefully that can happen. But
progress
for sure. This has been good, mate. I really, really enjoyed this. There's a lot of things I didn't know.
It's kind of all over the place. I'm kind of all over the place though.
I love that though. I love the hockey thing's hilarious.
Yeah,
I want to see that picture.
You should. Okay, so there's a funny thing on that though. Like one of the appearances I did with Rumble. I mean, what I said about he really comes out of that van. It's got strobe lights. You might as well throw confetti. Like they're giving away free cars. And I seriously am getting out of my gold Jeep Grand Cherokee, opening up the trunk, grabbing my bag, going into the stall in this tiny men's bathroom and changing to be at the same event. No one knows who you are. You can't talk.
Yeah.
I did get, but my claim to fame is I got in a fake mascot fight with Rumble at that event, and I won.
Okay, that's great. So that's all you need to know.
So effectively, I beat up Rumble.
Yeah.
So
you probably don't
come
want
at me, Twitter.
You don't want that in your resume.
And when I say Rumble, I mean one of 5 people that are Rumble, and it probably wasn't the real Rumble, but that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's making me think of like the baseball, like. What is it? The baseball mascot fight that they have like every year. Baseball, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the football one or whatever it is.
It was hilarious. Like 2 seconds outside, but I just remember thinking about that afterwards. Like, at what point in my life did I ever think that this would be a thing I'm doing?
Yeah.
And it was fun.
That's gonna be a funny story to tell Jimmy.
Oh yeah. Well, I won't tell him that.
He's gonna be watching a basketball game.
I did save one trading card because I had trading cards with the mascot. Yeah.
Okay.
I saved one. I'll show him that, but everything else, I just kind of. I kind of zone off that part of my life. Don't really want to talk about.
It's not a proud moment.
I don't have a mascot pride complex. I can tell you that.
You don't still have the head?
No. I did see it before that team's not here anymore, but I did see it one time after I saw in pictures, and the same whiskers that had been pulled off by kids were still gone.
Nice.
So that
just
was
to think
that
of
was
how
me.
many people have worn that outfit.
Yeah. It's really hot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how hot that thing is.
I can't imagine doing that in Oklahoma.
It's a lot more fun than you think, but you can't see kids underneath you. That was a problem. I'm 6'3". I definitely hit some kids in the face.
Sorry, kids.
Yeah, and you can't say sorry. You just like give them a hug and like, I'm so sorry. They didn't send anybody out here with me. I cannot see you. And they just run out of nowhere, man. I don't know.
And now you have
I wasn't trained in mascottery, you know. I don't know.
It's not a class at Alva High School.
No, that's not an arts program that exists.
To that point, what is Alva's mascot?
The Gold Bugs.
Is it?
Yeah, there's only like 3 schools in the country that are the Gold Bugs, but OCU actually used to be the Gold Bugs.
Okay.
Which
before, like, what were they before?
They were the Gold Bugs first. Well, actually, first they were the Methodists because it's Methodist University. Sure. Then the Gold Bugs, and then they were the Chiefs. And then for cultural reasons, that was changed to the Stars.
Go Stars.
So which is kind of. I mean, I'm very proud of my school, but you know, Go Stars is not exactly like a very mean thing to be able to say. But we do have a mascot now, Starsky, who's a ram.
Oh, really? Who's a ram?
Yeah, it's like an Aries, like the star. It's a stretch. But it's awesome.
Well, I think SNU went through that. They were like the Redskins before, and then they became and then they became like Crimson Storm or something, or whatever that is.
That's kind of hard to cheer for too.
Yeah, very hard.
But Gold Bugs are pretty bad. I mean, like you can't like, what are you gonna do in like in a football game? Like, you know, let's give them some kind of rare disease that bugs can give. You know,
like
what do you do?
Tiger or something.
Yeah,
there's
not like, you know, we're just a little bug on the tiger's back. But we're good. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, Black and Gold.
Black and Gold. Great song there. I love that song. Awesome. Well, I think we've covered a lot. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I'm glad you got back into the plane though. Taking more of that. That's I would like to come out one time. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I mean, Wiley Post is close to the house, so we'd.
I hope there's something in there that's usable. We didn't talk about like business or anything.
No, so don't worry about that. No, it's cool. It's there's a lot. I'm sure we can pull a lot of cool stuff from this. But so drugstore in Alva is still going.
Yeah, Holder Drugstore. In business for your health.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's the tagline.
We've got a fountain in the back. Go get a Jack and Jill ice cream, and you can Hallmark gift store up front. My Aunt Sally runs that.
Yeah.
Holder Drugstore down the square.
Awesome.
Please frequent it for the sake of my child's future college education.
I guess for everybody listening, how could they? I mean, if they want to get in touch with Midtown Rotary, can they reach out? If they want to get into real estate, can they reach out?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love talking. I mean, we didn't talk about investments or really real estate a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, I'm very passionate about what I do, and the unique thing about getting into the real estate business is your ability to give back to the community by building a small business. And I think small businesses run the world. So
yeah, I'd agree with that.
And clubs, organizations. I love talking about Oklahoma City. I love learning about Oklahoma City. And anybody who wants to learn or teach me something, I'm open for it.
How do they reach out? Probably email.
Yeah, email.
Don't give anybody your cell number.
No, yeah. Let me give you. Well, 555-5555. Yeah, maybe Instagram and Facebook. Okay. I'm the guy that will mysteriously like your post, but not post a whole lot on social media. That's just because because I am from a small town, I feel awkward posting anything about myself. Yeah. So you'll see some baby pictures. That's about it. You'll see on my.
What is your Instagram handle?
aholder89.
Okay. Everyone's going to listen to this and blow you up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of followers.
I'm going to get fives of people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, mate, this has been awesome. had a great time chatting, and I'm glad we got to do this. This was good.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped. You're killing it with it. This is Oklahoma.
I love doing this. It's so much fun. Yeah, it's. I get to sit with so many people, and I get to share stories that when was the last time we sat for an hour and just talked?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the best part about it.
Can I say one more thing? Just I think the world needs to know. I definitely made fun of Mike when he first started the Instagram
100%.
page, and so I was very wrong. And I would like to publicly say that.
I think we were having breakfast at Sunnyside.
We were absolutely having breakfast at Sunnyside.
And I think at the time I had like 4,000 followers in about 4 months, and I was so happy. And you were like, "What are you going to do with that?" I remember exactly what I said. Mike, go sell some houses. I was actually at Keller Williams at that point. I was. Anyway, I'm still selling houses. I've sold a few. Just I've done a few more podcasts than I have houses. But no, man, this has been awesome. Everyone listening, definitely reach out to Andrew if you want to get into real estate, or if you want to get into Midtown Rotary. And if this goes out before the 29th, right?
21st, next Friday.
If this goes out before the 21st, sign up for Spelling Beer.
At the Tower Theater.
Tower Theater on the Midtown Rotary's website. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys. Catch you next week. Cheers.
This podcast was presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who've been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.